I think we just got to go straight to the show because it's the morning show, and I'm still working behind the scenes doing stuff. I was literally in the process of trying to add something to the show to kind of get us back to where we were. We've obviously been able to introduce some of our old favorites back to the show. Sure, hi, I'm Hired Heyman, and I represent the great state of X-list Cheney-dom. So I've been working on that behind the scenes. I thought I was going to Ficus there for a split second, although the voice is there's several variants in there that I would say anyways, not important. The important thing is that I am adding something to this that we can do here. This would be, let me see if I can put this over here, and then I will stop on this one. Output will go to, what'll it go to? Where do I send the audio for this? It'll be a crazy thing to do. I'm going to go with, let's just do the chat area. That should work, I think, because they should be able to hear it. I don't know. Wish me luck. And let's see if I'm checking it right now. And then we're going to do one thing. And we go to here and click on this. And then I click on that. And then I click on this. And then I open that. And then I have to see, I probably have to wear headphones to see if this works. But we're going to find out the hard way. And Philip Bittner will be joining us for a second in the second hour.
Moon River.
Hey, it worked. Go figure. Hold on one second, and I will switch over to where I can hear it a little bit better. And I think we might be in business to get back to our being able to play our clips of people over time. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Piece by piece, man lai, as the Chinese like to say, bit by bit.
Moon River.
Whew. Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time? All right, look at that. Progress has been made right here, live on the morning show. And you know what would even be? It would be even more progress. Hold on one second. Let me open this guy right here. There you go. Add this business. Open yourself up to the happy days and the thing, and we talk to the who. Hold on one second, and we will go to boink. Look at that. Hey, I know, crazy background. Don't worry about that too much. I loaded all the backgrounds that I have so that I can build things to switch between them. So I've got different ones up, and you're just gonna have to deal. It's gonna be all spotty and weird. How you could have had $5 million of pillow money? Yeah, but he didn't. I tried that, but I didn't qualify as a tech expert. I just knew that as a layman I could prove he was full of shit. So hold on one second. I could just tell there's going to be a cat at some point in this business. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's the morning show. Like, subscribe, support the show. Venmo. And hello to everybody in Port St. Joe, Florida, and the lovely Piggly Wiggly that Summer and I went to for all of our grocery needs while we were in the Panhandle at a weird little like on the water house that her mom had rented and invited us down. So yeah. I wouldn't mind a cat either. Fear not. But should have gone with a PhD in computer technology. Should qualify. Oh, yeah, that's right, Connie. We could have teamed up on him and split it. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But that's not the important thing. The important thing is here we are together again on a Friday. And like I said, Philip Bittner will be joining us. And I've got to open that page up in a moment to make sure that he can get in here. Yep. Okay, we're good. And I can hide this page over here. And I have so many pages open. It's madness right now. I'm closing things because I will drive myself mad. But hold on one second. This was fun, and we should bring this up. Hold on one second. Boink. Yes, open this up. Ladies and gentlemen, MyPillow CEO, Mike Pillow. Where is he? There we go. Hold on, let me stretch this page down. Ordered to pay a tech expert $5 million because he's full of shit. Think of it as a full of shit tax that Mike Pillow had to pay. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell has been ordered to shell out $5 million to an expert who debunked his data related to the 2020 election, according to a decision by the arbitration panel obtained by CNN. Lindell, a purveyor of election conspiracies. That's very lovely of them. I would say a consumer of Hardee's and a dipshit. By the way, those aren't related. I'm not saying everybody who eats at Hardee's is a dipshit. I'm just saying he's both of those things and whatever. Vowed to award the multi-million-dollar sum to any cybersecurity expert who could disprove his data. An arbitration panel awarded Robert Zeidman, who is a hero, who has decades in software development experience, a $5 million payout on Wednesday after he sued Lindell over the sum. CNN has obtained arbitration documents and video depositions. Oh, the video deposition. Oh, come on. For my show. Son of a bitch. Release the depositions. God damn it. I deserve those depositions. Throw me a bone. My dear God, man. Hold on, I have to move that over there so we can see more of this. Come on. MyPillow depositions? You're going to deny me access to MyPillow depositions? You bastards. Fake news. Fake news. I can see a lot of terrible press back there. They're always doing terrible things for our country. They're hiding. Yeah. The decision marks yet another blow to the MyPillow CEO's credibility after he publicly touted unproven claims. Unproven. That's very sweet. A very charitable word. Bullshit claims of widespread fraud in the 2020 presidential election. Lindell has also faced defamation suits related to his election claims. In a brief phone interview with CNN, brief, did he hang up? Lindell said, "This will end up in court," and slammed the media and professed the need to get rid of electronic voting machines and melt down the machines and turn them into prison bars and throw the fucking blah, 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 blah. What an asshole. He's an asshole. All right. Just fucking pitiful. Yeah. He announced a prove Mike wrong challenge. That was this was during his Cyberama bullshit last year. So good. Such loveliness. And chat room, can we just soak it all in? Can we just enjoy this? Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. You and I. It's so... How do you think Lindell will actually pay the money Trump never pays anyone? Yes, I do. I think the check will be cut. Because they'll just, fucking fine him, and then it's tied to his production at the factory. Unlike Trump, Lindell purports to actually give a shit about his employees. Just the 92 of us is we got 765 people in here just right now. What you talking about? Come on now. Wait, where is this guy? Why is this business happening? There we go. Take this and stretch this out. Excellent. Hi, people. All right, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Facebook, all good. We're firing on all cylinders this morning. Welcome, Steph Heads. Welcome anybody who jumped over after the show. Thank you for doing that. Mano Shevitz, I love you for that. Monday's morning show, will be in Los Angeles, back with the orange set, so you'll know where I am. And because Tuesday I had the jam, and more than likely will not be doing a regular afternoon show. Although, again, I'm going to try to do a morning show, try to shuffle things around. But I got business in town, so I'm trying my best. Yes, Bongholio is out. Some of you weren't around yesterday. Oh, such a day it was. Oh, yesterday with the day, and such a day it was. And we will definitely see this when we go to our trendages. But just loverly. Just loverly. The whole Bongholio situation. Uh-oh. Is Tony Danza okay? What happened? Oh, it's his birthday. I was like, I don't want to cry while watching Taxi over again. Let's see. Okay, the trends today are going to be hilarious, but Bongino fired is the trending thing on here. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Here we are. Oh, he's very mad. We covered this last night. Thought it'd be a good time to visit some of his finer moments. He talks about the size of his penis, unwashed, smelly Walmart idiots, and some third world bullshit. He also mocks accounts like mine and Dan, and yeah, he mocked me too.
Listen, I may get fired from Fox after this. That's okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, you think this is some third world bullshit right here. Let me say
All right.
it again. Third world bullshit.
Objection.
Yeah, who the hell's denying elections? Elections happen. They're just not happening in a safe, secure way. That's what we're concerned about.
This is some third world garbage that happened tonight. Starts crapping their diaper who don't have to deal with the problems of the smellies. They've said to people, you're not the smellies. You actually built this place. My last name's Bongino. Probably don't want to tell them who's got a bigger crank. Some of you can plant a big wet one
Yuck.
on our asses. We don't care. Everything's been, the dipsy-do flipperoos happen. Like everything's been flipped in their heads, right? Going, listen, you great unwashed, smelly Walmart idiots. This, liberal zeros out there who watch this network all the time. I mean, some of them.
Yeah, none of us do. Well, and by the way, I think he's talking about her.
Their only job is to watch our shows, which is.
Right. Yeah. It's not their only job. They are specific media critics around fake criminal enterprises. Yeah, fake news. All right. Fired by boy, and they're not even fucking around. LA Magazine's like, yeah, he's fired. He's like, it was no big deal. It was a contract thing and no hard feelings. And everybody's like, yeah, fucking fired. He was fired. Fired. And he fired. Jenna Ellis, maybe he blocked you because this is false. He wasn't fired. Yeah, Jenna, you're a trusted news source. Trending politics news disagrees with everybody who actually has talked to somebody at Fox News. She'll like this one better. Parted ways. He's passed on. This Bongino's career is a dead parrot. It's deceased. Bereft of life, it rests in peace. If you hadn't nailed it to the perch, you'd be pushing up the daisies. Eek. Brian Sally has no idea why CNN. Okay. Oh, this is old. This is from Bongino Report, April 19th. All right. That worked out well. Maria Bartiromo's gone. Judge Janine is gone. And so is Bongholio. It's not conservative. It's extreme right-wing nutjob conspiracies, big lie, misinfo, spewing facts, anti-vaxxer, anti-science, delusional Trump is muckraker Dan Bongino has been fired by they lied about the election, Fox News. Sure. Okay, I see where you're going with that. Bongholio got fired. Oh, it's so good. Cancel culture is a bitch, isn't it? It's just sad. It's just a thing. Shit. All right. Did you always have your Minecraft gig? Yep. Just gone. Yeah. Yep. It's all good. There you go. Lights, camera, bullshit. Okay. It's just a sweet thing. It's a sweet. But yeah, of course, Bongholio says he wasn't fired. What's he gonna say? The truth? Bongholio's out, but the other two are really on. Yes, they are. Yeah, Janine Pirro, and yeah. I mean, I don't know what their last day is, or if they get a last show. There was some talk from him. Which is sorry. Okay. Meanwhile, Chuck Woolery is attacking Geraldo over what he said about Donald Trump. What did he say about Donald Trump? Something normal? We hate cancel culture. Get rid of Geraldo, he speaks ill of our leader. Like the old songs, former President Trump is being targeted by witch hunters conjuring fake crimes out of thin air. Yes, by his gross misconduct following the 2020 election, qualifies ever being president again. He tweeted, "Oh, I see. This is Geraldo's shit." Yet, by his gross misconduct following the 2020, so he even tried to give the guy a fucking room. So fucking what? Oh, it's so good. It's just sick. Somebody call the ambulance. I don't know what else we're gonna do. All right, so it's Tony Danza's birthday. He's alive and well, I suppose. Yeah, everybody else is like, this GIF of Denzel gets more action when people are thought to be dead. Whoops, let's go here. There we go. Without a doubt, 72. Boxer turned actor turned host turned boxer. Mm-hmm. This is one of his matches. Great use of the graphic. I cleared it up. Which trunks is he in? Did they say? Hold on.
Tony Danza in the white trunks with a black stripe. He's quite a local favorite. So let's watch this one.
Let's watch this one.
How these boys feel each other out. What are they trying?
This is all right. Wait, we're sure this is a boxing thing and not one of his early acting gigs that just went. I mean, you need the money. You do what you got to do.
Find out about each other, Harold.
Well, the first thing that they try to find out, the opening round is usually the feel-out round, where they feel each
Apparently
other.
not.
They feel each other out, but evidently Tony Danza doesn't feel like feeling anybody out. Tony Danza is all ready to start throwing bombs, which he's doing right now.
Knock the guy right out of the ring. There you go. I loved him on Taxi too. It's terrific. I was on his talk show once. It's the one time I saw Ace Frehley in person, like up close. I don't know why he was there. He wasn't a guest on the show. He was like backstage at the Tony Danza show. It was very curious. I don't know what this business is. Pay the $8 and Tony Danza are both trending. Cool. Yes, happy 72nd birthday to Tony Danza. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is his name. Let's say it justifies the Secretary of State played a key role in discrediting the Hunter Biden laptop story prior to being appointed as Secretary of State. Boo-hoo. Well, so you're saying it was discredited. All right. Well, at least we agree on that. Rick Grinnell, the Secretary of State committed to election interference in 2020. He must be held to account. The Biden campaign literally and undeniably committed election interference. It's not ever. The current Secretary of State for a Democratic president was engaged in one of the most undemocratic acts in U.S. history. The CIA colluded with the Biden campaign. How? Okay. What trigger did he pull on the bullshit story? Biden campaign, Blinken orchestrated intel letter to discredit the Hunter Biden. So Tony Blinken secretary orchestrated yeah, because he was aware of the intel. He was doing his job. Now Secretary of State was a senior campaign official who reached out to him in honor before 3 days after the Post published an email with the laptop suggesting Hunter had introduced his father. Yeah, still fake. There is no Hunter Biden laptop. Feel free to at me. It was precisely what Blinken said it was. Biden story is Russian disinfo, dozens of former intel officials say. Yeah, agreed. Clear election interference. Blinken was, if only people had known that Hunter Biden smokes in the bathtub, they wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden's infrastructure plan and his desire to get us out of Afghanistan. I mean, they've been trying this for fucking ever. CDC agreed the COVID-19 was most likely created in the Wuhan lab, but Dr. Fauci labeled the lab origin as a conspiracy theory because he funded the lab. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, most likely and for sure isn't the same thing, but that's another conversation for another fucking time. Again, from the lab and created in the lab, two different things. You have to distinguish which one you're calling. You could say it's a conspiracy theory that it was created in a lab, but you could say that it's true that it most likely leaked from the lab. I don't know what the fucking point is. These guys are so weird. All right, so separation of churches 8. This is probably about the Texas 10 Commandments. Yeah, public schools have to display the 10 Commandments under a bill passed by the Texas Senate, which will, I mean, is really just a trolling bill because it'll get taken down because of the separation of church and state and blah, 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 blah. In every classroom starting next school year under a bill they approved Thursday, they do realize that the first two commandments particularly are not friendly to the First Amendment of the Constitution. It would be not, it's not only unconstitutional to promote one particular religion over another, but the Constitution was literally the founding fathers giving the finger to the first two commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, and thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion right there. And the founding fathers were like, yeah, right out of the gate, no. And then, of course, thou shalt not kill, which, like, the PragerU crowd will always say, it really means thou shalt not murder. Okay, well, even if you take it at that, the potential for accidentally killing an innocent person, say using the death penalty, because you find out later they were innocent, is a form of murder. It's a depraved indifference to the reality. Your bloodlust to kill some people created a situation where you killed innocent people. Therefore, it's murder. So thou shalt not kill, no death penalty, fuck off, I win. This is the latest attempt from Texas Republicans to inject religion into public schools. The bill will remind students all across Texas the importance of the fundamental foundation of America. Yes, I agree. One of the founding parts of our country was our founding fathers themselves saying, fuck the first two commandments. Historically, philosophically, politically, no argument at all. That's exactly what happened. You cannot change the culture of the country until you change the culture of mankind. Bringing the 10 Commandments and prayer back to our public schools will enable our students to become better Texans. Maybe Sermon on the Mount might have done that, but I don't know that the 10 Commandments will. What do you think they're going to, you think a school shooter's going to wander up and go, wait, thou shalt not what? Fuck! Won't happen. Let's see. I should have the right to introduce my daughter to the concepts of adultery and coveting one's spouse. It should be one of the first things she learns to read. What? In opposition to the bill, Joel Litzer. Oh, I see. Somebody was saying adultery and coveting one's spouse. It should be one of the first things she learns to read in her kindergarten classroom. Right, because thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's oxen or their ass. Right, yeah. Or their wife, or which there's very little distinction in the Old Testament between those two things. Texas Senate approves bill that would end faculty tenure at public universities. Ageism. Texas Senate moves to end county-wide voting on election. Huh? Whatever. Like, they're basically like, it's all these people doing democracy shit. We need to go back to a time when, and a place and a mentality where democracy didn't exist. I know. 12 BC. Let's see. Okay, yes, that's what I did. Hold on. So in 1797, stated that there will be a separation between church and state. Okay, that's exactly right. Yeah, cool. So, Robert Smith, from The Cure, I suppose. I mean, there could be a lot of Robert Smiths. Yes, it's his birthday. It's also Tony Danza's birthday. Coincidence? I think not. Have you ever seen Tony Danza and Robert Smith in the No, you haven't. Have you ever seen Robert Smith in a boxing ring? Maybe you have. I am not a Cure fan, but I have to say I love the song from the Crow soundtrack. Mm-hmm. And again, I will also say, they launched into one of the most Okay, there we go. I will say that I don't have to like something for you to love something. And I don't have to like what you like to love that you love it. Just so you know. You know why? You know why? Like I'm not it's not that I dislike The Cure. I've just not, it doesn't move me. It's not the music for me. It doesn't work for me. It works for other people, as it fucking should. And the reason I'm okay with that is because I'm not in middle school. That's right. And it's amazing to me how many people online are intellectually, psychosexually, and philosophically still in middle school. Very weird. That is a very big hat. It's great. Quit it. It is there I will say it's almost as difficult to age as a goth as it is to age as a member of a band with boys in the title, especially if boys is spelled with a Z, or kids, however the spelling goes, right? No, it does not cure what ails me. Um, let's see. All right. And of course, we're shuffling around. Purple Rain is trending because today is the 7th anniversary of Prince's death. Um, and it's also the day that Mark Twain died and the Red Baron. I'm just letting you know. Weird, huh? All right. The fact that Elon's forcing people like LeBron and Stephen King to have a blue check mark they're not paying for as punishment tells you as you need to know about his value. What? Okay. People who worship billionaires, I see. Hey Dylan, I was pretending he didn't for clout. What is this? How very Twitter says I've subscribed to Twitter, but I haven't. My Twitter. Oh, because Elon Musk didn't turn all of them off. He's personally paying for King. Yeah, that'll save the whole point of the blue checkmark payment shit was. And by the way, why did it have to be a fucking blue checkmark that you were paying for? Why couldn't there be a like an orange one for normies and a blue one for celebs, so you know that's a legit source? And people want me to think this fucker's a genius who thinks past the problem. Fuck out of here. A bunch of that's going to come up. Her Majesty, I'm not clicking on it because I don't. Kings and queens are stupid. Purple Rain. Yeah, I can't. Since Raspberry Beret is trending, let me post this Prince classic. My favorite song off of that album is The Ladder. Everybody looking for the ladder. That one. And on Purple Rain on the album, I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite track, but the one I play the most, Computer Blue. Mm-hmm. Just yeah, it just is. Just is. When Doves Cry, one of the things I love about that song is how thin it is as far as instrumentation. If you listen to that song again, listen to how few instruments are actually in there, and when another instrument comes in, it one disappears. It's amazingly dry as a song, which is a testament to how popular it is. Same thing is true of, I think, of Kiss, the the Prince song Kiss, is that it is so like there's so little to it sonically. It's it's just the instrumentation and the vocals. Yeah, god damn. I mean, it's so amazingly well done because he has some major productions and a lot of musicians on stage, and that's part of his. It's always been part of his thing. He's always had like a 5 or 6 piece band behind him and played himself, guitar and piano, keys, whatever. so the idea that he would have a song that effectively could be done by two people, much less a three-piece, is, was always a gorgeous aspect of his, of his playing and his talent. Mm. It's a song the girls in the band wrote, Lisa and Wendy. I'm getting goosebumps. I don't even have the sound on. Yeah. Not only was Prince a solid actor, genuinely good, and a magnificent entertainer and an incredible musician, he was also super fucking funny. I mean, I love Under the Cherry Moon. I think it was, panned because there was a period in which, like, singers and musicians shouldn't act. They shouldn't be allowed to do it. He got some success. He got too far too fast. Who the fuck does he think he is? And now he's going to put together this black and white French movie and what a weirdo and blah, blah, blah. It's terrific. And the Sometimes It Snows in April is the song I use if I need to get in a crying mood as an actor. That's the song. Amazing HAL rendition. Yeah. That is quite the setup. Yeah, She'll Always Be in My Hair, Moonbeam. People are just listing my 7 Prince songs. Nothing Compares to You, The Cross. The Cross is so great. It's on Sign of the Times. Another very simple, sonically simple song. Just a couple of instruments. Hmm. And I always thought it was fascinating that you know I was always warned that Michael Jackson was the sweet and pure one, and Prince was dirty and would do bad things to you. He was just that he was more than likely gay, and that he was probably a sleazeball, and never ever an accusation of being sexually inappropriate with anybody. Was always a coaxer sexually. That was his belief that your sexual power as a man comes from your ability to attract a woman, not to take her. That you take a woman and and show sexual power over her by being her flavor and having her discover that on her own. And meanwhile, everybody's like, but at least he's gross and sexual and awful, and Michael Jackson's the nice guy, right? This is always the big fear. No. Same thing about Bill Cosby and Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor had his fucking problems, but one thing he didn't do was dope and assault women. Like, everybody who slept with Richard Pryor wanted to sleep with Richard Pryor. That cannot be said of Bill Cosby by his own admission. Therefore, fuck him. Yeah. No, yes, Prince was not gay. He was clearly not immaterial. People are who they are. If it's, I've been there. I played Purple Rain sitting right by that wall. There's a piano right there. There was when he passed 7 years ago. I was in town with Charlene the week that he died, and I sat down and played Purple Rain on the piano that sits outside of First Avenue, the one that was on the stage, and was crying like a baby. Mm-hmm. Everybody send some love to Chris Titus today, because besides me, he's the biggest Prince fan I know personally. Trade in with 18. Why is this? Okay, I don't know what. That's they're hiding promoted ones down in the bottom. Is this Chris Christie or yeah? Chris Christie says, I'm not a paid assassin for Trump. No, Chris, you're a volunteer. I see. What's wrong? You undermine our democracy. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Christie seems to be the only one actually making a case against Trump. Christie in New Hampshire pointedly laid out his case against Trump, saying he failed to deliver on repealing Obamacare, building a border wall, etc. All those failings are policy failings, but they're bigger than that. They're broken promises. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. And again, I don't know what this shit like is. I'm not a paid assassin for Trump. No, Chris, you're a volunteer. That there's a repeat of that phrase. I guess. I see. Everybody's copying Rick Wilson. What Rick Wilson said. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's having to stiff arm him right now is just fucking fine with me. Who cares? An iron lung? Why is that? Directing his own film, Iron Lung. The film is based on a submarine horror game. Oh, I see. Okay, they're doing a game of it because of the success of The Last of Us, which I have my issues with. I love the actors in it, and their performances are rock solid. It is not their problem. It is some of the dialogue and story points that I was like, oh, all right, fuck out of here. Now, I don't mind if people say stupid shit in stories. Oh yeah, this is Hakeem going after Marjorie Taylor Greene, so of course they're freaking out over him. Why is 1989 TV trending? I see. Oh, I see, because of UHF. What? Oh, I see. She's doing her own channel or something because she was born in '89 or some shit. I don't care, but I'm fine with it. Whatever. Balmoral. Oh, I see. That's why. So that's why Her Majesty is trending, because it would have been her birthday and blah blah blah. And then of course Rick Scott, because he, like, I guess at some point, thinks he's going to actually be able to run. We have a great conservative Republican Party all over the country. We just don't have enough conservatives in D.C. Rick Scott. Rick Scott and Josh Hawley blast fellow Republicans for supporting what? Liberal policies and globalism. Jews. All right. Did anybody who watched The Last of Us? Anybody? Any fans of The Last of Us? Oh, you like the new back? You like this one? Okay, I'll use it on occasion. And what? Okay, we got 15 minutes before we get our dear friend Philip Bittner in there with us. I mean, I like the game, so I watched the show, and I love the fact that they used the actress that played the character in the game, who voiced it and was the model for it, as the mother of the actress who plays in the thing, because she's older now and she's a grown woman, so she wouldn't be the girl. And and anyways, that was really nice. There are some tropes that happen. It basically went from 0 to Walking Dead season 6 right away. You know what I mean? Like, they skipped all the part where people put shit together, because that's how the game works, because they're getting to that point where, it's only meaningful if there's structures that you have to get past and whatever. I'm not gonna. If you played the game, yeah, the game's great. But there are a couple of tropes, and nobody will be surprised. I'm not going to spoil it or whatever. One of them is that when a giant awful happens, be it Walking Dead or any of the disaster movies, anytime they do an after, but like Book of Eli's the fucking worst. Oh my God, that movie. Just fucking embarrassing. They always devolve to this idea that humans will just tear each other apart. The minute the day the electricity goes out, the majority of humans will turn into monsters and rip each other to shreds and blah blah blah. Fucking nonsense. There have been a myriad of, as far as the people knew on Earth, world-ending circumstances, from Pompeii to the Black Plague, happening all around people, and we exist in the aftermath of that. So the reality is that humanity has a very strong urge to survive as a group beyond just your own, you know, violent, gimme idea of survival instinct that people have. It's just, I find that shit aggravating. Hold on one second. Let me bring the chat into this because I'm sure people will have, something to kick in on this. Yes, humans actually band together in crisis. They always have. Exactly. Otherwise, we would have been wiped out a long time ago. Because it's not like, because again, right now, the reason why disaster movies and disaster shows and stuff are based on like a worldwide pandemic, usually of zombies, and in this case, a fungus among us. The reason it's worldwide is because that's considered the tribal reach right now. But when you were in a smaller tribe, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, shit like this happened that looked like the world was ending. You didn't know. You didn't know there was anybody past the fucking mountain. So if something awful was happening and there was, you had an Aztec-like society, why didn't they tear themselves up? Why did they maintain some level of cohesion? Why did small break-apart groups eventually reach some sort of stasis? If that's the reflex, why did they do that? So I always have an issue with that. In the short term, those stories are fine. But after a couple of weeks, people are getting the power back on. Sorry. Like, especially in those kind of situations. This idea that there's just kind of fucking weed overgrowth everywhere even is hilarious. Because the first thing you would try if a fungus was attacking the world and turning people into monsters is plant killers. We would be dropping pesticide bombs every fucking where. Shaun of the Dead was fun too. But again, those are acute situations. There's more to, the zombie movies that are in the short term are always more sort of realistic to people's sort of panic reflex and how people react in a direct emergency. Again, where the majority of people actually do try to work together, especially if there's such an obvious and monstrous villain out there. Like the level of understanding you would have. Think about this, that your neighbor is alive, you're alive, you're in both directions. But there are zombies outside, and there's, if you're going to fight your way out, you're going to need as many living people who aren't zombies as possible. You've got stuff to share and all that kind of stuff. You'd be putting fucking ladders between the windows in the top floor of your house or across the fucking roof so that everybody could get across immediately. So no, because the threat is so gigantic. It's not that big when you can turn off the episode, right? Did I watch the War of the World series? No, I didn't, but I'm a big fan of the movie and the old radio show. Redneck zombies were killed with deodorant, right? Never mind the fact that zombie apocalypse would be over in 3 days because of maggots. I've addressed this before and I stand by it. But in this particular case where everybody's turning into a fungus, there's not like, what's the fucking stuff, the athlete's foot spray that kills stuff? It's brilliant how ladders to connect houses. Exactly. You wouldn't even have to do it that long. You play survival zombie games, don't you? Yes, I do. I enjoy it. Fungi are not plants. They're, I know that. However, they can be choked off by the same thing. Hard to get rid of because we have, yes, agreed. Tinactin, thank you, yes. We would use Tinactin and all that shit to stop them. We would jack up some increased version of that. And again, the whole premise is that it gets inside you, but it's like crawling into your mouth like it's alive really quickly. And all right, fine. Suspension of disbelief for how it happens. That's fine. But the idea that we would just kind of like nuke the area. Does Gold Bond? I don't think Gold Bond actually works against fungus. I think it just dries shit up, doesn't it? It's anti-itch, isn't it? Desenex, yeah. People would be walking around with like cans of Tinactin and Desenex within days. Just like there'd be a huge run on Tinactin. Oh, Gold Bond medicated, does it? I don't know. HAL, the human body is 50% foreign, bacteria, fungus, and viruses. Not 50%. I'm with you. It's not 50% foreign. It's absolutely, unless you're completely overridden with fucking bacteria and stuff. Like, no. You could say like 50% of the cell count or something like that, but not by weight or mass. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that solutions to that kind of thing, especially from isolation of it, would happen very fastly, especially if these people grow into like fucking mushrooms and stick to walls, you know, and just like you know, like some sort of demented Alice in Wonderland thing. Round up, right? But the idea is that they would try everything, even if they were wrong. You know what I mean? Like idiots, you know, Bondo, it's what plants crave. They would absolutely try to, hold on one second. I gotta, before I get too carried away in this conversation, I gotta set up a situation so because Philip's gonna join us, and I gotta make sure that I have my my page open so that he can come on board, and so that I can put him in the feed. So, anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that before we even break down the issues you might have with the story, and the fact that humans would react a lot of ways before they would react, hold on, turn that on. Hey, look at that. I fucking love that thing. I got a button that turns on the virtual camera for my thing so that my guests can see the show. And I used to have to click through. It's so nice. Yeah. So the Mariah gas shortage. Oh, what? All right. We'll talk about that in 1 second. Let me click this on, make sure he's good. I think we're fine. Okay, good. Yeah. So there are a couple of points that I was like, okay. Like there's like an ad for communism in the middle of it. They come to one, you know, because it's all about, like, if you watch the Walking Dead, there's always this kind of collective idea of barter, and, you know, nobody has money, and then nobody's created a currency. So of course everything runs on a barter system. And so they have this one community that they come across at one point that everybody shares the work that has to be done inside. And they took a gated community. This is the fascinating part. They took a gated community and just expanded the gate. And then they were like, the Joel character says, you know, it's communism, like he's in a negative. And the woman goes, yeah, it is. Kind of like bright and cheery, you know. She's like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And in the story point, you can tell that the idea is that he's supposed to be owned by just how directly she said, yeah, it is, and it's great, and it works terrific. That works. It's a great moment. If you don't precede it with the conversation, A, that it is surrounded by a wall, and B, that they kill any strangers because they only have so many supplies. That they ride out into the woods and kill human beings to make sure. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not impressed by your system if it can only survive because you kill the excess humans. The other thing that was annoying was they, of course, came across the obligatory Christian fundamentalists. That in all of these situations, there are apparently, I'm talking about a series, Stargal. It's a series. And it's an aspect that's in, or whatever, that's in this storyline. Hold on, let me bring you guys back in here. Which is fine. But don't tell me or try to dunk on someone that your system works, or see, it worked. We can make it like this would work. It would be way better if we did it this way. When she's like, it's communism, like that. And I was like, okay. First of all, you're limiting the commune by casting out anybody you don't like, or killing off the weak, or riding out into the countryside to kill people before they even get to you. No matter what, like, they just fucking straight up shoot people. The only reason they didn't kill the main character and like the two main characters was because one of the people recognized them, that they knew they were coming. Yeah, communism-ish, right? She was like, yeah, we're a commune. And therefore, we're like, no, you're not. A barter system is still capital. If you barter because of your work, and with your work you buy a nice piece, you get a piece of clothing. Like, I'll fix your porch for that jacket. It's still capitalism. You're just using labor capital, stupid. Especially if you take that later and you take the jacket and then you trade up for another thing because your labor gave you your excess labor. You didn't mind working a little longer than somebody else or whatever. I'm being Trump-ish, am I? Yeah. No, I'm just saying it's cartoonish. It's okay that they set up a system, a walled-in community that uses a barter system, and they found a way to make it work. That's great on its own. But using, like, economic terms from the fucking 30s and 40s is just stupid. I'll fix your porch for sex. That's exactly right. By the way, money was created, currency, as we understand it, was created essentially, coin money was created by the Greeks as an exchange point for sex. Because they had, up to a certain point, had a barter system. You got some grain, I got some chickens. You want, how about we trade some grain or some chicken for some chickens, or some chickens for some grain? That was fine. But if a woman would sleep with you for a chicken, and then she was like, shit, I can have a lot of chickens, and then I can trade these chickens to other people for grain. People start going, why does Marge have so many fucking chickens? And so to hide the fact that people were, that's how the exchange was, to make the exchanges more private, coin money. And it's, by the way, one of the reasons why belly dancers and people from, dancers from that part of the world wear little tiny coins on their outfits, because it was kind of like, this is how great a lay I am. That's where that shit came from. It's like, it makes total cultural sense. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's how it works. Let's see if Phil's coming in just a second. I will switch myself to studio mode so that I can bring him in on the thingy. Yep, and hopefully that'll work. Give me a second when he arrives. I'll let you guys know. Probably should be able to hear him. Now, I happen to, like I said, I like these stories in spite of it, and I like the characters and the actors doing their. Notice the coins only out. No, it's just it came from, I had a stand-up bit about that years ago, because I was doing a bit about money, and I was like, why coins? Why circular, that kind of thing. Hold on one second. The Romans did not invent coins. I didn't say they did. I said the Greeks started using coins specifically as that thing. Hold on one second, and I'm going to bring Phil in just a second. I'm going to fill in the area. Hold on. Let me open this guy up. This in here. Paste that in there. And let's see. Okay, I think that works. Wish me luck. There we go. Excellent. Now, let's see. Phil, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me, Phil? Phil, are you hearing me?
Hold on. Hold on.
I hear you.
How's that?
Sounds great. You sound good. Can you hear me all right? Because I will bring you right in.
No, it's probably on my end. Hold on one second. No, strange.
Nope, you're great. You sound good. Now you don't sound at all. There you go. It was great. It was working for me. It was. And then, nada. Can you hear me? He's checking right now. Give him a second. Might be an internet issue. We'll work on it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? He went away. All right. He'll be back. We'll just assume that. Hold on one second. It's always an issue, chat room. We'll work on it behind the scenes. Microphone check. I love it. It's part of it. Babylonians had coins, right. But the Greeks specifically did it. They created their coin money specifically for that exchange, was the point. And the reality is that hiding what you were paying for was
Hey!
Hey, there you go. Now you can hear me. Love it.
Yeah, I sure can.
Excellent. Well, I'm
getting some feedback.
You are? Okay, hold on one second. I will try and remedy that. Check it, check it, check it, check it, check it. Oh, maybe this is it. Hold on 1 second. The settings of the settings. Voice chat.
Test. Nope, still coming through.
Okay. How about now? Check again.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep.
That fixed
Maybe
it?
not. Ah,
All right, good. All right.
a little,
It's
just a wee bit,
a wee bit.
but it's
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
It's
All right, let me
manageable.
transfer over. We'll see if we can switch it over to. Hey, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. The lovely and talented Philip Bittner. A joy to be around,
Hey.
and an expert.
Not to be
in,
rude, I'm just checking. I'm setting things up because we're still getting information out of Ramstein, Germany, where they've had
Oh,
this massive meeting.
well,
And
hey man, du hast nicht. Don't be afraid. Yeah, for the record.
Stoltenberg is talking right now. Austin and Millie had a thing probably about an hour ago, a press conference about an hour ago, and I'm still kind of getting lines
Right.
out of that. Nothing earth shattering.
Right.
The Austin said that they were still planning on getting anti-aircraft weapon systems before they consider giving fighters.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
that's still going on.
Yeah, there's lots to talk about. Not the least of which is that Russia bombed itself last night. I don't know if you saw that part.
Yeah.
They bombed Belgorod.
I did see that.
Yeah.
An Su-25 fighter bomber. I think it was an Su-25. Dropped a bomb in the middle of Belgorod, which is a pretty medium-sized city for Russia. And it just sat there for a while, and people were driving around it, and then it exploded. And I can only laugh because the last time I checked, there was only 3 wounded.
Right.
So, but you know, I mean, it's embarrassing for Russia for sure.
Right. Well, it's I have to say, one of those 24, 25, whatever it takes exactly, in the chat room.
27.
Yeah, it does make a bit of a crater,
It sure
on your
does. And
corner.
there's the one white, I don't know what it is, a white Niva or some sort of, little hatchback thing. And it just gets lifted right up. I'm sure that was one of the wounded.
Right.
Because, airbags are not really a thing.
Well, and honestly, when you do the crash tests on that, very seldom are they really, focusing on IEDs, as opposed to
True. And I'm being slightly facetious, but I mean,
soccer moms
I'm sure that
minivans.
I'm sure that was bad. I'm sure that person was badly wounded.
Right.
Because it was a huge explosion. I mean, it just tore up a main street, and you see all the electrical, like the street lighting, everything gets knocked out. So, yeah, well done, Russia.
Right.
Good on ya. Just continue to be so impressed by your military capabilities.
So apparently, let's see, where is this? That's January. Hold on 1 second. There's newer stuff from Rammstein. Let me see. Rammstein. Rammstein. Let's see. Where's the news? Where's the newest news on this? All I'm getting is old stuff.
Stoltenberg said that Ukraine should be part of NATO, will eventually join the alliance. Milley and Austin, aside from the whole thing about we need to give them land-based anti-aircraft systems, there's been talk from the Americans that we're going to increase or really start our training on Abrams.
Right. Cool.
More tanks.
I think there's going.
billion.
Right. Okay. Good. That's a reasonable amount of stuff. There's a let's see. There's a, where is it? I want to say, okay. what's his name, Solovyev, has also gone on about apparently now they have to denazify all of the Baltic states. They're all everybody's a Nazis. He's the Oprah Winfrey of Nazism under your political chair, and you get some Nazis, and you get some Nazis, and you get some Nazis. Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll round you up and and get rid of the Nazis for you. It's very much, well, I almost gave a spoiler on The Last of Us, and I'm not going to do it. There's so much, yeah. But
I mean, it's we had a couple of air raid sirens today. I don't know if that's connected to anything. There've been drone attacks around the country. I believe who got hit? Was it Dnipro may have gotten a drone strike? I'm not sure where else, but
right.
You know, it's all there's all. At the end of the day, everybody's waiting for the other shoe to drop, and for the counteroffensive to begin. And there was a statement by the deputy minister of defense who said that the counteroffensive had already begun. Now, I think what she meant was not when we think of a counteroffensive, you know, you think of like all the tanks go rumbling out and all the rest of it. It was actually interesting to hear her press conference and to hear her parroting. I mean, it could have been a press conference from 2006 Baghdad for all, you know, for the language. We are starting shaping operations, she said.
Right.
And, you know, did she actually say shape? No, she didn't say shaping operations. She said early stages of the counteroffensive. And no, she did say shaping. That's what struck me was the fact that it was like, I've heard NATO commanders, particularly U.S. commanders, using that term so often because what they mean by that is the early stages of a battle. When you're about to go in, you try to probe and you try to do feints and you try to infiltrate other areas so that you, as the word implies, shape the battlefield before you start the actual offensive. And I think that's what she was referring to, and it was interesting that she would use that kind of language. But the real counteroffensive, and by that I mean tanks rolling and massive numbers engaged in offensive operations, that hasn't started yet because the weather's not right yet, and other things are going on. I mean, there's planning. This intelligence leak didn't help. There's still more weaponry to be brought in, more ammunition to be brought in. So we're not there yet. But boy, there's a lot of anxiety in Ukraine because they all want it to work and they know it's coming. And there's a lot of fear in Russia. If you monitor their Telegram channels and, what they're saying in mass media, they know it's coming. I mean, Solovyev went and visited a bunch of guys in balaclavas and, ski masks and what have you. And they were like, oh, we're 100% ready. We're 100% ready. And it was kind of like, well, you sure want to convince yourself you're ready. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah. Weren't you ready last year when this was supposed to all be over in 6 days? The fuck out of here. Yeah. Like at a certain point, like I'm gonna get a migraine from rolling my eyes at the number of you could just go back. Like I went back over some of the bullshit that was being said about Ukraine losing and Russia winning in June of last year with just the absolute force of certainty and will on behalf of the people talking about it, and none of it came to pass, and the opposite exactly happened. And then but then after that, it's going to be the 300,000 folks that are coming in, and that's going to be the end of it. And let me show you real quick. I'll bring this up. This is bring this guy.
Well, while you're bringing it up, I'll just respond to that. Yeah, I mean, it's been very frustrating for me the entire year now plus. By an almost willingness, a desire for whatever your narrative is, whatever you believe is happening in Ukraine with the war, you want to fulfill the narrative that you have from preconceived whatever, like, oh, Russia's a big bad bear and it's a monster and it's going to crush anything that it attacks. And it's like, well, no. So it's been very frustrating to watch that. So what have you got?
So this is an article on Ukraine Today. It's from the Ukrainska Pravda, but it relates to actual stuff from whoever the minister dude who's running words from him who's running Crimea for the Russians. Is that apparently and Vladislav Nazarov has also mentioned this as well. There's a bunch of people they're bugging out of Crimea. That there's an awareness that the spring offensive probably has something to do with taking Crimea, and that Russia is using conscripts or plans to use conscripts to defend Crimea at this point. That all the active military, the 300,000 that they supposedly sent in there, that by the way didn't amount to a hill of beans, those folks, they who those that aren't dead or injured or incapable of actually functioning as in any kind of military capacity, are not going to be sent down to defend Crimea. They're sticking in the middle of the Donbass to keep it from being separated, because they do really fear, beyond just the retaking of Crimea, the bifurcation of the Donbass is the end. A through line,
100%.
If they punched a hole through the center of that, that's a nightmare scenario. It's part of it. Actually gives some reasoning to why Bakhmut all this time. Why that force? Because just to wear down that area, to make sure because it's almost right in the middle of the beyond. If you don't count Crimea on the land attached, that's where you see it, right? So they're just saying to Crimea, fuck them, essentially, and they're calling up conscripts to fight for Crimea, and that's basically giving a message to the people in Crimea that it's not going to work any better than when the real soldiers were there, so get the fuck out. So they're selling, this is Russians in temporarily occupied Crimea, which I love how they write that because it's Ukrainska's Pravda, temporarily occupied Crimea, are already fleeing to their homeland. In particular, there's been a mass exodus of men from the peninsula and sale of real estate because they're going to get drawn into this and fucking murdered. This was reported by the Speaker of the South Operational Command, Vladislav Nazarov. According to him, there's a growing discontent among the population of Crimea due to an active mobilization campaign carried out by representatives of the occupational administration. He claims there's been a significant increase in the number of people traveling to Russia by rail, night and reserve trains on the peninsula. Also, they are actively selling real estate on the peninsula and canceling hotel reservations for summer vacations. Moreover, according to the speaker, there's also been an increase in the part of the population that expresses, quote, skepticism about the course and results of the special military operation. As a result, the occupiers in Crimea have stepped up their fight against extremism, the report says. Nazarov adds that the similar actions are confirmed by the Center for National Resistance. That's this business right here. And this ties into the whole idea that Russia is, where is this? This is the explosion, by the way. That's the crater in fucking Belgorod. That's that white car you're talking about. Yeah. Huge. I mean, it does
so
in the video, right? In the video, it you see it from relatively far away. Oh shit. I didn't even realize there was a full on here. Okay. They're driving by it. That's somebody passing by.
I can't believe people drove around that thing.
Right.
There was a huge crater for like a good 5 or 10 minutes, and people just drove past it. It's like, no, don't go anywhere near that.
Yeah. Well, again, God knows if they don't know what the fuck it was. Like, it's not weird for Russian satellite stuff to fall out of the fucking sky. So,
but true. But also, if you're not actively engaged in like unexploded ordnance or any kind of a military or police
I agree.
presence,
important safety tip. Thanks, Egon.
Common sense says, stay away from the big crater.
All right, I will. Jeez.
I don't see anything more. The Abrams. They keep talking about the Abrams.
Mm-hmm.
There's recently, I think since last we talked, the footage came out showing U.S. Bradleys and Strikers on the front line in
Oh
Ukraine.
shit.
So U.S. Lend-Lease vehicles are on the front lines currently, and we'll see how they work. I saw recently, just earlier today, footage, drone footage of two tanks and two
Uh-huh.
two M113 armored personnel carriers operating somewhere in the Bakhmut region,
Right.
and they did it almost as if they were trained. Oh, they might very well have been trained by
Mm-hmm.
NATO armored trainers, because the tanks did exactly what they were supposed to do, and the troop carriers did exactly what they were supposed to do. And the tanks went in first, and then the personnel carriers came in and flanked them, dropped the back of the vehicle, and troops went out and supported the tanks and all the.
Mm-hmm.
It would I would have expected to see it at a U.S. training facility somewhere in the States. It was almost textbook. So they have been trained. They know what they're doing. And the Russians, again, we've talked about this in the past. The
Right.
Russians don't. The Russians say they operate with combined arms tactics. They do not. They don't. They
Right.
don't. They don't. Their military is not built that way. Their military is based on just infantry and artillery. That's
Mm-hmm.
their priority of the Russian military. So I I I mean, I don't want to jinx it, and I don't have a crystal ball, but I think the Russians are going to get it in the neck real hard.
Right. Yeah.
I
Well,
think they're in real trouble.
one of the things I wanted to point out was remember last year when they were talking about the ruble is just getting stronger, he's strong, and that the Russian
Uh-huh.
economy is the shiznizzle, and the sanctions aren't doing anything. I literally think it was the favorite talking point of Jimmy Dore of all the things, beyond, like, he would say Nazi, 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 but he would primarily, it was like, fuck the dollar and the ruble's amazing and blah. That was his big one. Okay, here's I
And
would
the
like
sanctions are doing more pain to Europe than they are to Russia.
right. Here's the chart of the ruble from year over year. It went through this period where they artificially shorted up, where they were using gold to back it, and it's right back where it was, ladies and gentlemen. The Russian ruble is worth 0.012 cents right now. And that's pretty much where it was in April of 2022. It went through this big jack up because they artificially inflated their currency, and then it's right back where it was. And all they did in the process, by the way, was money printer go burr. They did the thing that everybody accuses the U.S. of doing with the dollar, which we ain't. And effectively their debt at this point is, they ran I think $23 billion deficit in March alone. It ain't good. It's and
Nope.
the idea that people and people seem to be, I guess, yeah, there's a lot of reasons why it might particularly fail. I personally think it has something to do with this right here. Russia seeks to limit ruble hit amid exodus of foreign firms. That's what's doing it. It's finally turning into people are bugging the fuck out. There's a huge story in I mean, it was cascading across. It was in Caixin, and it was in the Wall Street Journal, it was in Bloomberg, and all this stuff about the manufacturing exodus that is happening in China right now. It has picked up steam. It was already bad. It's picked up steam in the last 6 months because everybody was, they're packing their shit, but they hadn't fully left. Everybody is getting out as fast as they can, to the point where, like, Foxconn is shutting down their the big Apple factory. That was going to be the thing that, like, until that thing starts getting closed down, because of how much money Apple makes and how important it is to the U.S. economy, there's no way they're going to move people that we're going to decouple from China. Even Janet Yellen said it, I think yesterday, was that, totally decoupling is bad for both countries, and we really need to do this. We're going to protect our security interests, but we're not interested in completely cutting ties, which is exactly what you would tell someone while you were moving out of the apartment while they were at work.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me. We're doing fine. I'm not moving out. I just need some time. If you don't mind, let's meet at a coffee shop, and I'm just going to come by and get some of my stuff. And then when they come home, everything is gone. That's what's happening. That's exactly what's going on. And Russia is now is the largest debtor to China under the Belt and Road Initiative right now, of all of them. We're ending a $23 billion deficit. $300 billion
there was an arms sale that was set to go with India,
right.
and it just was announced
they're not doing it.
It's not going to work. Yep.
Yeah. I don't like it is. Oh, and well, I want to save this one for this one goes, kind of to that point as well. Putin canceled his Turkey visit since the last time we talked. He was supposed to go to Turkey, and this is one of his bestest buds. Turkey,
well, love hate. Erdogan.
Right.
Erdogan. Do you remember the Erdogan summit like 8 months ago?
Yeah.
Maybe it was a year ago.
It's embarrassing.
Where Erdogan made Putin wait.
Yes.
Oh. Well, now, there's a long-standing historical animosity between Russia and Turkey. They fought in the 19th century. I think they fought four or five wars against one another as Russia tried to expand and gain access to the warm water ports in the Adriatic and the Black Sea. There's no love lost. Love lost between Turkey and Russia. So,
well, and it's and Turkey, is one. I think it's interesting. Turkey is one of those countries that I think the Europeans are aware of the strategic, geographic power that Turkey has where it is. That's a huge part of it.
Sure.
It's almost entirely the seat of their power because it's, none of us are on Turkey smartphones, right? But at the same time, they do have a fairly strong industrial base, a fairly strong, oil and gas refining capability. They know that because of their ports, they have also built all the other shit you build on top of, hey, the stuff shows up here. They pulled a Walmart. Hey, I own the trucks, or the trucks have to stop at my truck stop, so I'm going to sell stuff at cost, anything that falls off the truck. And Turkey's been doing that for fucking centuries. And
they are not a comfortable relationship, but they are a NATO member and one of the most important air bases in America's network around the globe. And you have to look at America's network around the globe as a interconnected web. They all rely on one another. We'll fly this here and we'll fly that there, and we'll pull this material there, and they have an air base in Turkey called Incirlik. And Incirlik is enormous. It's one of our biggest air bases.
Right.
I've flown in and out of Incirlik lots of times as an embedded member of the press. And if we were to lose Incirlik, it would not be good, because you would have to fly from our base Ramstein in Germany, or another one of our European air bases. And then, if you wanted to support Diego Garcia, which is the way that America exerts its military power around the Indian Ocean, which is problematic, and America wants to keep its base there, and especially for the shipping lanes. That may change in 10 years, 5-10 years, when maybe we stop policing the shipping lanes. But for right now, we want to support Diego Garcia. We lose Incirlik, and that's a major problem. So we try to play nice with Turkey, even though Erdogan is a jerk. And we have our own independent relationship with Turkey. Russia has its independent relationship with Turkey. Erdogan and Putin don't get along. Russia and Turkey have a bad relationship. Look, at the end of the day, what is happening right now is the fact that the Russian Empire is finally taking its last gasps and dying.
Right.
It maybe should have happened in '91 when the Soviet Union fell apart, but it didn't. But the Russian Empire, as it stands, as it's constructed, is dying, and everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. This is
one of those,
is kind of like
it's
you had
alive
a
out of
stroke.
habit.
You had a stroke in 1991, and now you're going to have the little capillary that goes in the brain and kills you. 30 years later.
Nick in our chat is saying Black Sea is a big deal, and that has a huge aspect of why Turkey's there. But you're absolutely right about Russia in particular. Russia is alive right now out of habit. The world locked into, okay, these are the countries that are going to exist. Let's all play nice on this field. And we spent a good deal of effort and time, the Europeans and the West and even the Chinese, trying to just maintain the world order. Just keep everybody in their own camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that trade could be the way we did the majority of the exchanges between our countries. And the Russians were like, nah, it's not going to work. We really don't have anything to offer, so we're just going to have to take some of your shit. And it's an old habit, but it's an old way of operating, but it's the one that had worked for them, so they just fell back into their own habit. This is interesting too, but it won't matter, Philip. It's not going to matter. None of it's going to matter. You know why? Because the Russians are going to win the nuclear war, and they are already discussing their plans for how they are going to rule the world after it is bombed into a glowing cinder that looks like a chunk of coal with a bust of Vladimir Putin in the center of it. Russian state TV guests discussed a plan for world domination, which you have to say it like Richard E. Grant in Hudson Hawk for it to have any meaning. After nuclear war with the West, during a debate on current global tensions due to the Ukraine war, this is Solovyov again, repeatedly called for further escalation of the Ukraine war. In recent months, they've, he goes, regularly calls for more aggressive approach. He said, of course we will, in a video uploaded to the Russian media monitor, bless her heart, on Monday, the dean of state of Moscow, the dean of the Moscow State University School of Television, Vitaly Tretyakov, which Tretyak wasn't he the villain in The Saint? Ivan Tretyak? Russia that is not revered but feared, like that fucker. Question what would happen after nuclear. He said, of course we will win. This isn't even up for discussion. What happens after our victory? Let's say we won in a nuclear war, a fast and limited one. We got them all, pew pew. After that, we would have to rule the world. The victor has to rule the world. Do we have a platform? A plan for ruling the world? I don't know. I haven't heard about it. Tretyakov continued. When Putin said that the next 10 years would be hard, of course, it doesn't pertain only to war in the territory of the former Ukraine, which should be simply liquidated as a nation. So, and then, by the way, the fucking nerve of this next quote, the same way Hitler's Nazi nation was liquidated. Like, motherfucker, you actively invaded. You're the Nazis in this analogy, stupid. It was simply liquidated. Then it can be decided what to do with the lands and the people who used to serve this nation. But that is a separate topic. Obviously, slavery. I mean, you can't fold them back into your society and fuck them and make kids. You gotta. They're insane people. They've all been in. They've got the Nazi brain fungus, right? So they can't be trusted. He added that Russia should now focus on training new European leaders that favor Russia, as if that hasn't been the fucking goal the entire time.
They really, really can't get it through their thick heads.
No,
we're not that into you. We're not. Yeah. Nobody likes you very much.
Right.
Nobody's that into you. And all the people who this is my little buddy who I take care of, and then he gives them a noogie and goes, go on, you little, and that's Poland.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Not doing this anymore. And then also you said something in there that reminded me. I know everybody's seen this video, but if you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to clue you into a little gem of a video by a British comedy duo called Mitchell and Webb. And they did a bit about being Nazis on the Eastern Front, and I think it's Robert Webb and Robert Mitchum. Mitchell. Yeah, one of them, the larger of the two, turns to the other one and goes, "Are we the baddies?" I mean, everybody has like a hammer and a sickle is their symbol, or an eagle or a lion. We have a skull. I mean, you wonder if the Russians are ever going to wake up and go, are we the baddies in this? Are we,
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath, but wouldn't that be great to see?
I think they're going to have to be yelled at about it after everything's over.
Yep, I think so. Sadly.
And this is, there's a lot going on as far as the lack of strategery or whatever. But one of the things that people keep getting afraid of, and this is, I think, where you and I uniquely can address
from
the Ukraine, the sort of ongoing Russia-Ukraine storyline is the China-Russia hinge point, the relationship, because you know Russia really well and I know China really well. And one of the things that I don't think people get through their thick fucking skull, like to borrow a phrase of yours, is the fact that they are, you want to talk about frenemies, the ongoing bullshit between these two countries. If it was happening to the United States, it would be the only thing. Like if China was supposed to be our buddy, let's just say we don't mind communist, blah, 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 that wasn't an issue. It was like Brazil or some other country. If they were doing, if we were back and forth like this with our singular ally of note in the world, I mean, you can have little ones and whatnot, and you can trade under the table with India for oil, which is, by the way, the storyline, like, all right, we're going to have to play chess in a minute with the India Russian oil thing. I have an insight into that I find particularly great. But the idea is that if China and Russia are buddies, imagine if there was a similar relationship that America had with another country, with the UK or the EU. If the US and the EU were treating each other the way China and Russia were treating each other internally, it would be a nonstop fire on television in both, in the EU and in the United States about how fucked our relationship is. If the UK
more so than the French just kind of pissing on big
but that was a
translation
you
Americans
thing.
You have no culture,
right?
But actually tangible shit where we're fucking one another over. Yeah, of course, the whole thing would fall apart.
Imagine if the UK, all of a sudden, King Charles takes over, new dude in town, and we have our great relationship with our old, owner, whatever, and they started renaming American towns and back to the names of the colonies before the Revolution. They stripped away every Fayette County and Lafayette Square and Lafayette Street, for example, in the entire fucking country on their maps. Imagine that for a fucking second. Imagine that happening and the reaction in the United States press about.
What if the Dutch started flying into New Amsterdam as opposed to New York?
Exactly. Right. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
But no. To be fair, and look, it's not all safe. It's not all calm seas and open sails.
Right.
We've had our disputes. I mean, there was the submarine issue with the French. 5 years ago or something like that, where we kind of screwed them out of a negotiation thing. Or
that wasn't
one guy
5 years ago. That was a year and a half ago.
System plan. Was that only a year and a half ago? Oh my God.
That's because of the AUKUS agreement.
Yes.
And we didn't screw them out.
Yes,
they were going to buy. They were going to buy submarines. The Australians were going to buy
that's
submarines.
Only like a year and a half, 2 years ago. That was right before the war started.
They were going to buy diesel submarines, and they had already put money down, and they were being built, but they were behind schedule, like 6 fucking years behind schedule. And so the U.S. said, "Hey, if you help us silently patrol the South China Sea against pirates and whatnot, because we're having to get out of China, and there's a lot of once these countries don't have a singular point controlling them, it's anybody's guess how this shit'll go. We'll give you the nuclear powered sub stuff so you can get a little more range. What do you think?" And the UK and the US and Australia joined together for the AUKUS agreement, and that was it. If you don't need 16 fucking, or 8, I think it was 8 diesel submarines if you have 3 nuclear powered ones, because they never have to come up for air ever. And
Right.
so that's what that was
Based out of
about. And
based out
France
of
was pissed
Melbourne
for
as
a month.
opposed to
Right. And
yeah.
like,
My point was we do have our disputes. We
yes.
don't get along perfectly. We're not lockstep all the
No,
time.
nor should
Now
we.
the Europeans get a little more pissy than the Americans because we're the bigger partner. That we get pissy with some of the economic deals or some
Mm-hmm.
of the like social developments that we like see in Hungary. I mean, we're not crazy about what Orban is doing, with
Right.
good reason. My only point is that there are disputes between the EU, NATO, and the
Mm-hmm.
U.S. But if you compare that with what Russia and
And China,
China
yeah.
are doing and their relationship, where they are clearly in a marriage of convenience, where the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Oh my God.
It would
Like,
never work. It would
it's like mice and
never
men.
work
It's
between
like
NATO and
each
the
one of
U.S.
them.
if we behave the same.
It's of mice and men, and both of them think the other is Lenny.
Yep. Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
a good
kidding.
way of putting it.
That is, they both have this idea that they're going to be the one to walk the other one down to the stream and tell it a story about rabbits while they blow their brains out.
Right.
They genuinely think this, and it's not even half the time they can't even fucking hide it from each other. But anyways, I have seen in the stuff that I've been reading, especially economically, because the other aspect of this is that they both expect that the other will shore them up, that the economic power of China will shore up Russia, and the economic needs in terms of goods and services and shit like that from China will shore up undergird its economy. And I talked about this earlier today because people have been talking about the Chinese economy being number 2 in the world for a long fucking time. And I was trying to find an analogy that could help people grasp what like vivid and spectacular and glittery horseshit that is that imagine, if you will, the US population is a loaf of bread and the US GDP is a stick of butter. That's how much it is. All the money in the US is a stick of butter, and all the people in the US is a loaf of bread. And with one stick of butter and one loaf of bread, it's fairly even. Definitely there's some issues with the early bread bits get a little more than their fair share, and by the time you're at the end of the loaf, you're a little thin on butter, but it's all there. You can complete the loaf. And then remember that China has 5 loaves of bread and a half a stick of butter. And then go look at Iceland or fucking Luxembourg or Switzerland or any other UK, like any of the European countries, and look at them and go, they have 2 slices of bread and a quarter of a stick of butter. They're fucking fine, and it's spread more evenly across their people than it arguably is here, although that's debatable, and I'm willing to have that debate at any given time because there's a lot been made out of like Northern European fantasy land ideas that they have problems with super right wingers, partly because of how they've spread their butter a little thin. But the other thing is that half of China's half a stick of butter is actually wax. It's not even fucking butter. And half of their bread is moldy and dry and will need more butter to go down than the fresh pieces. So you're spreading what you have even thinner across all that. And again, why would that make you the second biggest economy in the world? You're not. You're spreading so little over so many. Look at India. And again, okay, so the big thing, India buying Russian oil, right? We've heard the big story about India. Oh, India's buying Russian oil under the table. And they're refining it and selling it to Europeans, which is fine. Doesn't violate the sanctions because Europeans aren't buying refined crude oil from Russia. They're getting it from India. India's making the money on top of that. India's making the profit. India's making the actual effort. They've got the actual facilities. They're not just passing the barrels on like Jimmy Dore thinks they're doing. They are refining it. It's a big deal. But one of the reasons, why would the U.S. be okay with India buying a shit ton of Russian oil? Because what happens to that oil? They refine it, and it greases their economy, and they're getting all this cheap oil and that they can turn into cheap gas for their enormous economy. Who is their direct competitor in the world? China. The U.S., just by not bitching about India taking cheap Russian oil, is allowing the circumstance, the sanctioned economic difficulties of Russia to be compounded in interest by also resulting in India overtaking China as the second largest economy in the world. Again, not per capita, on a monetary level, because you're talking about two countries with 1 billion people, allegedly. Like, I don't know why
Well, and
people don't see that.
if India can maintain it, if India can hold on to its democracy, then I mean,
Yep.
we are continuing to bolster what we propose to support
Exactly.
globally, which is the idea of democracy, and it helps to hurt and impede the spread of autocracy, which only a couple of years ago everybody was saying,
It's on the
democracy's
rise.
days are over.
Yeah.
America's on the decline. Look at Trump; it's a clear example of look at again. We're not going to get into a debate about the petrodollar, but all the kind of all that kind of
Right.
crap that was being said, and now it's like, clearly, now there's nothing is a sure thing, but right now, if I were a betting man, and which horse would I bet on? Sure as hell ain't the Russians and the Chinese.
Nope.
It sure as hell is not the Russians and the
Dude,
Chinese.
again,
Democracies, and we're better for it, are
right.
on the ascendancy. Thank God.
Right.
For all of our faults and all of our weaknesses and all the bad things that whatever, blah blah blah, still a shitload better than China or Russia or those
Oh yeah.
autocracies that support that kind of mentality.
I find it amazing.
And those systems.
These are like, there's like zombie lies, and I think the greatest weapon that China and Russia both have are what I would call zombie propaganda. Talking points from 8, 12, 15 fucking years ago that somehow people still believe. Even with all the evidence, forget about like Ray Dalio and his idiotic concepts of reality and his just buy-in trying to find a greater fool to buy him out of the crevice he sees ahead of himself. If he's got a brain in his fucking head left over, he's trying to get out of his economic ties to China by going, yeah, it's a great place to invest. You guys should throw some money in this, while he totally scoops up his shit and heads for the door. That's best case scenario. But the people who still believe the COVID numbers, the economic numbers, because again, in my butter analogy, which I think is spectacular, by the way, I stand by the fact that half a stick of butter, a quarter of their, like half of their economy is fucking wax, not butter. That it's fake.
Yeah.
That it's a lie. I mean, you look at like the Martinez, the guy who did the he did this graph that said, how can you tell autocracies? He found an equation that basically said autocracies exaggerate the values of their economies by around 40% consistently. That they say their GDP is 40% over what it is. And the way he tracked this was worldwide, regardless of nations, what's your nighttime light usage? And how's it grown over the years? Because as factories run all the time, as powerhouses, energy is needed throughout the country, you tend to have more lights on. You can see it from space, and you can watch everybody, and you can track the GDP of the United States or the UK by the number of people who are burning the midnight oil, for lack of a better phrase, considering that. And then you look at, China or India. You look at India, for example, and India is, for all of its problems, very honest about its economy. And you can tell from space by how many lights are on, how honest that is, how many factories and boats and shipping and trucks are on the road and shit like that. And in China, they lie by about 46%. It is 46% less of than they actually say it is. Russia's the exact same way. And they have oil and gas, so they turn lights on just to have them.
I've traveled around the world. I've spent the last 3 decades of my life predominantly traveling outside of the United States. And the one thing that I have noticed in all the different autocracies that I go to, and autocracy is a really big umbrella word that you can use for dictatorships and for whatever it is that Hungary's got going on and whatever Turkey's got going on, and then of course the biggies with Russia and China, and then even go further into Iran and the DPRK. The problem with it is that there's the consolidation of wealth and power, and ultimately that doesn't work. It doesn't work because ultimately there will be an overthrow, and overthrows and disruptions of the violent kind, and the abrupt revolutionary things that happen. Again, like in Russia, nothing, then everything.
Right.
When those revolutions are costly, they're not good. That's why our founding fathers wrote into that revered document, the Constitution, the idea of embedded revolution, so that you can change, you can make changes through the actual system. Whereas when in autocracies, ultimately they don't work, and they get setbacks, these massive setbacks, because ultimately there is going to be a revolution. There are going to be those who are sick of not having a fair share and a distribution of wealth and power. That's why that's why a lot of Americans, I would argue more so on the left than on the right, but regardless, I think there's a widespread feeling in America that the wealth distribution is off kilter. Whether or not, I'm not going to get into a deep debate about that, but that's because we are taught. And I believe it's true.
It goes even further.
That a strong middle class is better. That's why we have to try and shore up the middle class.
Right. So
my father was a professor of economics. That's I was 8 years old in his beat up old BMW, going because he worked at a community college. He didn't get paid a lot, but he loved what he did, and he taught economics, and he would teach me about Hobbes and Locke, and the economic plans, and the invisible hand, and all that kind of stuff. And as trite as it is to some, and I know cynicism is much more popular these days than I would like, and certainly as a Gen Xer who's tired of cynicism.
Right. Yeah.
We grew up with cynicism, and we kind of we've come through the other side and realized the weakness of it. Is that those systems don't work because they consolidate power, and then there's a massive upheaval, and
one
that's
mistake is all mistakes. One mistake is
I
every
have no
mistake.
faith. I have no faith in China. I have no faith in Russia. Ultimately, I have no faith for the Ayatollah and the Islamic People's Republic in Iran.
Yep. Agreed.
Nope, none of it. The DPRK is living. Someday that regime will fall, as all regimes do. It's a tenuous thing, and I'm not gonna get my pom poms out because I look at warts and all. But having traveled the world, I can tell you, our system's better.
Yeah,
it just is
a lot. Well, and to your point,
by a lot.
To your point about how we tend to we exaggerate the economic inequality in the United States because our standard is higher. What we think people's lives should be like is also higher than what in other countries people think life should be like. So we do believe in a certain level of comfort for every human being that especially in a country like Russia, they're just like, nah, some people are just deserve to be on the underside of the boot. Right. Yeah. So in this chart I have right here, this is Martinez's, the guy who went through and tracked all the light.
Don't make me quote my Lincoln quote again. Okay. No, sorry, go ahead.
So this chart is Martinez's, equations where he's tracked the GDP versus light output of these countries, among other things, and any real source he could find weighed against the official state position about the economic strength of the country. And the United States is not only way over here in this free countries, partly free and not free at all, and China's in the not free at all. And if you think you're free in China, like people in China are somewhat free. No, they are not. You're just gonna have to trust me on this one. But go watch the China Show and those guys, or Lay's Real Talk, or any of the people who regularly discuss China, who've been there a lot, and they will tell you to kindly, gently go fuck yourself. So, but interestingly enough, America this is the estimation of the GDP and how it's presented. It's actually below average. The United States, versus like the UK or Australia or one of these other countries, we downplay our GDP and how much money the country has and makes as far as size of economy and what's there. We downplay it as a populace and economic. We're always talking about the downside of our economy more than we talk about the upside of our economy. And so it's a regular, a talking point. So a lot of other countries that are free, for example, like Ireland regularly sort of exaggerates its GDP over a certain point, but it's not outside the realm of relatively normal. It's the highest. Ireland and Ghana are the two that bullshit the most in free countries, interestingly enough, about that.
Okay.
Greece and Japan, they think they're in hell, so they always talk about how bad off they are. So they're below that. They normally talk shit about their economy versus what it really has, which is fascinating. We're closer to that line than Australia, than South Korea, than Poland, a bunch of other countries. Over here is China. China is higher than India by a significant chunk, but they are, besides, let's see, is there a single other country that is more full of shit than they are? There seems to be another line on here, but it's not marked. But China being the primary one that just lies nonstop about exaggerating their monetary growth. On this one, they have Russia equal with ours because this is old. He did this in 2022.
Well, and there's another factor I suspect to Russia, but go ahead and finish your thought.
Right. So the interesting part is that, again, China is always telling this story that it is way better off than it actually is. And the biggest issue with that is not just they're within shooting distance of being as full of shit as Ireland. Ireland and China are about in the same zone as far as bullshitting about their GDP. The difference is that Ireland has a reasonable amount of people spread over a very vast area, and even if they don't make a third of what they think, they're doing fine. Irish people themselves have enough to go around in the size of their economy and their closeness to the UK and the monetary system that comes through there, that they're
a European Union nation. I mean, they get subsidies from Brussels, and
that's right. And so they get to benefit from the lack of need, oversupply, and an awareness of themselves that are like, we got it great because look at these rolling hills and look at all of everything's fucking, you can get anything you want there. It's great, and they genuinely sort of believe their own hype about that because they don't really need anything more. They're fine. China is fucking desperate. 80% of its food, 85% of its energy is imported from other countries. You're reliant. You're a tick on the dog you wish to kill. It is insane. And to be that full of shit with that many people under, the umbrella of your care says one of two things to me. One is it's really just face for the rest of the world, and you're trying to stave off the attack is coming from India if they ever found out you have fewer people than you actually do. You say you do, and you have nowhere near the money that would be necessary for an extended fight with anyone on the planet. Fuck Taiwan. The India conflict would be over. It would take 6 months, and it would decimate China in a heartbeat, with almost no damage to India itself, unless they went tactical nuke, and that's not happening. So that is a horrifying number for the people of China. That puts them in a position where everything they are relying on is a lie. I say, James says, well, hold on one second. James says,
and as far as
HAL's
the
not
Russian numbers are concerned,
yeah.
I think it's important for people to recognize that we don't know what Russia's economy is actually because of a couple of reasons, and part of it, or a large part of it, is because it's a kleptocracy. And so, as a kleptocracy,
right, are the numbers even real?
A lot of the market, there's a gray, there's a black market, there's a registered market which is taxed and contributes to the GDP, and then there's a gray market which nobody has any idea about because everybody's skimming off stuff. Money's circulating. But it's a little bit's going out there and a little bit's going out there, and it's not going to the state because it's not taxed, and it's not going here because it's unreported. And we don't know what Russia's economy really is because it's built as a kleptocracy, because it benefits Putin's Kremlin and the messaging from the Kremlin. So we have no clear understanding really of what Russia's economy is or what its GDP is.
That brings me to an equation that I have, but I want to address what James said in our chat. He goes, Hal's not correct. I live in Ireland. The economy is a mess, and we had one of the worst housing crises in Europe right now. We produce almost no local fuel for energy, meaning oil and gas. Agreed. I'm not saying the individuals there believe it. I'm saying the government of Ireland, in their statement to the world, may be under the estimation that housing crisis is a housing crisis, and that's not, we can handle that, or we will, or it's terrible, but it's only terrible around here. It's not a permanent affect. We'll move through it, or we'll find support, or being part of the European Union will salvage us, whatever. But they may be, by the way, bullshitting about their GDP in an attempt to get loans to help fix this. The point is they're not telling the truth about the economy in Ireland. And I was being facetious when I was like, people believe rolling hills. I'm being silly when I say that. What I mean is that they say they have way more money than they do, and they're in the same zone as China as far as that bracket, and China has a lot more people to look out for than the Irish government, let's say. Just as by
so
individual,
reality
by body
as opposed
count.
to messaging from
yes, exactly. It's way off. It's fucking way off in both situations.
For different reasons, but
right. But the one thing I want to do is that the amount of and I'm trying to, I'll work out the numbers on this at some point. It's my own, Martinez equation. But there is a direct there's a direct proportion of the amount of opaqueness about your economy to the absolute bullshit that you are selling. That the disbelief about your economy is in direct proportion, should be, to the outside world, in direct proportion to the opaqueness of the figures themselves. The more you know about it, the more the world should trust you on it. The more you hide, the more the world can just in general just go, fuck you, bullshit. This is nonsense. And in China, since Xi Jinping took over, they have eliminated, I want to say, like 15 markers that they used to use to judge GDP. They just don't bother counting them anymore. They just knocked them off. It's not a real thing. And they're using like freight cars and passenger trains as a way of, and electricity usage in certain areas to, by province, to judge the economic output of a particular area. Which means, by the way, in case you don't follow how Chinese governments work, they are running trains nonstop just for the fuck of running trains, and they're keeping lights on in buildings where no one is working, so that if Xi Jinping's clan and their motorcade drive by, they see the lights on in the building. That's how dumb it is. Yeah. So, anyways, that's we're at the end of the show, tailing this, and you're gonna be joining me in the morning.
Yeah,
we'll know more about
Ramstein
tomorrow.
I will be back on. There's something will break out of Ramstein, and I'm sure there'll be plenty for us to talk about. As always, just going to take a quick last look to see if there's anything that's come out of Ramstein in the last hour or so. I don't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just
okay.
the same stuff from the beginning.
It's gonna
All right.
grind
Yeah,
tonight.
so-
And everybody's singing. We're all singing Rammstein songs now.
I bet. I still have the material from my trip to Zaporozhye that I'm editing together, so maybe I'll have a vlog out before the
Great.
radio show tomorrow. But other than that, I will talk to you.
Yeah, talk to you in the AM
tomorrow.
Tomorrow night for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, your time. Okay, take care,
Excellent.
everybody.
All
Thanks for listening.
Cheers. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being with me this morning, and basically doing a test of the system in a lot of ways, because I wasn't able to even get him on as a guest on Wednesday because everything fell to shite. But I've managed to salvage it, and we seem to be okay. And I will see you guys this afternoon for the regular show. And I'm so behind on clips because there's so much fucking madness, and because Bongholio got fired yesterday. Yeah, we know. Get out of here. There's so much we can cover just because of his meltdown. It's so good. It's so good. You know what the gift that keeps on giving is? Marjorie Taylor Greene on committees. Just digging a fucking hole for the Republicans there's never, ever gonna be an end to it. Ever. She's just gonna be awful until she's not in Congress anymore, and it's terrific. Because if you think Trump drives away independent voters, whoo doggy. Marge, if the Republicans wanted to build a wall to keep voters out, Marge would be your woman. Allegedly. All right. I'll see you later. Yeah, hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, support the show as best you can, and I will see you guys later. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else, and I'll see you soon. Okay, bye. All right. Okay, which button should I push? I push, do we go? Oh, I have to do this, and then I push this button, and hopefully...